A mother and father went Christmas shopping one Saturday afternoon with their 7-year-old daughter. The little girl was so thrilled and enthusiastic about Christmas. It was just magical for her. Her parents were just the opposite, sadly. They were grumpy, tense, uptight, worn out, fed up with all the traffic jams, fed up with the lists, fed up with the bills and the long queues, fed up with wearing a mask in the shopping centre and having glasses that misted up when they walked in anywhere that was a little bit warm. You know what I'm talking about, the way in which things have been. This Christmas is not dissimilar really to where it's been like other Christmases, just the fact that some of us have had to resort to internet shopping more than perhaps we would have liked. The family returned home that night, and the little girl was singing Christmas carols, but her mum and dad were arguing, they were irritated with one another, everything was getting on top of them. And finally, Dad told the little girl to stop singing carols and go to bed. She started upstairs to her room, but she stopped on the staircase and opened the window and looked out. "What have you opened the window for? You'll let all the cold air in," said Dad. "I thought I could hear the angels singing," she said. But still angry and tired, Dad said, "I don't hear any angels singing, and neither do you. Get to bed." The little girl started up the stairs a little bit more swiftly than she had done. But then she paused and she said gently, "Daddy, if you want to hear the angels sing, you have to listen with your heart." And then there's Shelley. She and her husband both work full time. She insists on preparing the family Christmas dinner for 25 people. And she wants to do it all by herself. She spends weeks baking, cleaning and shopping. And then she gets up at 3 o'clock on Christmas morning to put the turkey in the oven and finish the preparations. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Day, she's in tears because she's exhausted. Then there's Bill and Nancy. They chase around for weeks, and finally they've got everything on the list. They stop for a few moments. For the first time in weeks, they take a breath to have a quiet moment. But even though their son's new bike is leaning next to the wall, and even though their daughter's doll's house is set up in the corner, there's something not quite right. And gradually it dawns on them. It doesn't look like enough. They've spent incredible amounts of time, incredible amounts of money that they really couldn't afford. And they bought everything the children had on their lists. "We ought to get some more," said Nancy. "Something's not quite right. It's not fitting the picture of what I think Christmas should look like. There's not that mountain of presents like I used to have when I was a child. What should Christmas look like?" Let's have a think about that for a moment. Isn't Christmas to look a bit like what it was in Bethlehem? Perhaps we need to go to Bethlehem to see what Christmas really was like, and perhaps we need to slip away from the shopping centre, to slip away from the Christmas lists, and stand back from the multitasking and turn off the telly and control our own appetites. Just for a little while, pause and go to Bethlehem to see what Christmas really looks like. There in Bethlehem are a bunch of shepherds. They're keeping watch over their flock by night, and they're minding their own business. This night doesn't look much different than any other night. But then God breaks in and speaks to them, and an angel of the Lord suddenly stands before them, and their first reaction is fear. I think I would be afraid as well, just as you would. But then they pause, and they listened. And what strikes me about this encounter with God's messenger is that the angels didn't give the shepherds specific instructions about what to do next. They didn't push them. They didn't threaten them. They didn't promise any material reward. They didn't have a star to guide them as the wise men did a few years later. No. For some kind of escort, the job vacancy wasn't available. What the angel said was quite simply this: this will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. You will find. That's what it's about. You will find. If you go looking, you will find. It implies the action of seeking. God revealing himself to the shepherds. But they've got to play their part. They've got to go looking. Now, this isn't the first recorded Christmas decoration that's out there on somebody's front lawn outside of Bethlehem. God is saying that when he reveals himself, we are required to respond with faith and action. So if you want to know what Christmas looks like, for me, it looks like the scene there in Bethlehem. It's the familiar stable and a manger, Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus, and these shepherds coming along. These shepherds making major adjustments to their lives so that they can join in, so that they can join God in what he was doing and celebrate the birth of the Messiah. Max Lucado, a Christian author, has written a book called The Applause of Heaven, and he puts it like this. There's a small cathedral outside Bethlehem which marks the supposed birthplace of Jesus. Behind a high altar in the church is a cave, a little cavern lit by silver lamps. You can enter the main edifice and you can admire the ancient church. But you can also enter the quiet cave where a star embedded in the floor recognizes the birth of the King. There's one stipulation, however. You have to stoop. The door is so low, you can't get in standing up. The same is true of when we meet the Messiah. We can see the world standing tall, but to witness the Saviour, to really discover who he is, we have to get on our knees. So out there in Bethlehem, on the night when Jesus was born, while the theologians are sleeping and the elite were dreaming and the successful were snoring, the meek shepherds were kneeling. They were kneeling before the one and only meek one. They were kneeling in front of Jesus. So what does Christmas look like? It's a picture of God coming into the world to visit and redeem. It's God turning things around for us. It's God coming through with his grace and love and giving us a fresh start. It's a new beginning, a new chance, a new life. That's what Christmas looks like. It's a picture where we don't have to face our problems and challenges alone. There's just one thing needed. We've got to get out of the shopping. We've got to get out of the race that pushes into the shops. We've got to get out of our diaries. And we've got to pause. And we've got to go over to Bethlehem. And we've got to see this hope. And we've got to see this new life that is happening there. These are days of deep searching. Days of understanding that there's a new life waiting for us at Christmas. Christmas looks like that for me when I see someone discovering Jesus for themselves. Because it happens every day. Because Christmas is Christmas when it happens in your heart. Amen.